It's another episode of the States Up podcast. I'm your host, Brant Freeman. We had a very special episode last week. Had a chance to catch up with Barrick Neely, former Texas State quarterback great, now back with the football program as running backs coach. Talked a lot about his homecoming. But of course, typically in the podcast, we visit with the current student athletes. So we're kind of circling back to that. And right now we are in the heart of basketball season, middle of January. So getting close now to the halfway point of Sun Belt Conference play. And joining us in the podcast this week is one of the newcomers for women's basketball this year, Janai Henson, as Texas State coming off a championship season for this past year, looking to be championship caliber again this year. Had to lock and reload and add some new talent. And Janai Henson, a part of that, a transfer from Morgan State, where she was first team All-MEAC this past year and the leading scorer in the conference a year ago. She leads the Bobcats in scoring this season to close to 14 points per game. And as we record the podcast, coming off her second 20-point game of the season and getting ready for a big homestand this week against Troy and Arkansas State. Janai joins us now. Janai, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
We're glad to have you on here, Janai, and you and I have spoken a few times, throughout the year. Of course, there was the season preview show that we had, where we kind of had a chance to visit with you then, and a lot has, happened, obviously, since then. That show was done before the season began, and now here we are, at about the halfway point of the season. So how would you describe the year for you and your teammates so far?
I think it's a good year. We're learning each other, and I think a lot of us are fairly new to the program, but that hasn't stopped us from trying to have our cohesiveness and win games.
I think one of the biggest things for this year's team was everybody finding their roles, because there were so many newcomers in place. Of course, there's yourself, Garrett Bethself, Jalen Foster, players that weren't, part of this program a year ago, now starters, Tiffany Tullis as well, Crystal Smith, both transferring from Glenn Junior College. So everybody, again, trying to find and define their roles. How would you describe the role that you have with this team?
The role that I'll put in this year is to be a leader. So just leading this team to victories and hopefully a championship. That's on the court, off the court, just doing what I can to help us excel as a team and for Texas State women's basketball as a program.
I referenced the season preview show, and you were one of two student-athlete guests. The other was Garrett Bethself, who's also been on this podcast as well. So like you, have had the chance to visit with Garrett Beth a few times, and one of the things that always comes up in our conversations is you. Garrett Beth talks very highly of you. The two of you, again, coming into the program as transfers together, had spent a lot of time at your previous schools before coming to Texas State, and she has, when talking about the relationship she has with you, describes it as very, very close, very tight. How would you describe your relationship with Garrett Beth?
I would describe it as just that I love GB. She's like my sister. I appreciate everything that she does alongside me here at Texas State. I think she's a great counterpart to have, especially as a leader. When I don't have a voice, she has a voice, and I love having it. I think she brings a lot to the game, including her passion for the game, and that's my shooter on the court. So, yeah.
Who else have you gotten close to on the team since you arrived?
I've gotten close to quite a few. I feel like as a point guard, you have to put yourself out there a little bit so that you can get familiar with your teammates. So I would definitely say that as far as everybody on the team, I definitely have somewhat of a relationship if we're not the closest. So, yeah.
You mentioned, your role as point guard. You've been playing the game since you were, 8, 9 years old, very young age. How much do you relish the role of a point guard, that floor general role on the floor?
I take a lot of pride in it. It It's a lot to be able to have the ball in your hands for a lot of the game, putting people in position while also getting yours. Because I am a point guard, but I'm also a scoring point guard. So I am also looking to get my bucket, but I also want to get everybody in place and just get the offense and flow. And I take a lot of pride in that.
The role of point guard, and you mentioned you're kind of a scoring, point guard who does, again, get teammates involved. How would you compare the role of the point guard at Texas State compared to your previous stop, Morgan State?
I feel like at Texas State it's a lot easier as far as how the offense is set up. Just a little more organized, and I know how I could get my scores. I feel like when I was at Morgan, it was just a little bit different. And some certain offenses weren't necessarily for me. Not to say that this one is, but I definitely feel like here I have a little bit more leeway as far as my scoring ability.
Again, we're only about halfway through the season, and I think it's safe to say that your favorite moment hasn't happened yet at Texas State. But let's, for the sake of argument here, to this point, and I look at what the team has done this year, getting a huge win over a rival in UTSA, blowing out, a great mid-major in the MAC Sun Belt Challenge, Bowling Green, going to Miami and sweeping that tournament, the big conference road win at Appalachia State. There have been a lot of really good moments for this program so far this season. What's been your favorite?
I think my favorite was Miami, only because I'd never been to Miami before. So I was just taking it all in, appreciating the opportunity that Texas State has granted for me. Also, we went to a Miami Heat game, and I had never been to an NBA game. So for me, that was dope. And then just us getting that 3-0 sweep, it meant a lot. It definitely meant a lot. It felt fun to win with my teammates.
I was going to ask you, what is South Beach like around Christmas time? Obviously right now it's really cold. I'm sure for you back home in Baltimore, freezing temperatures this time of year. Miami, what was that like in December?
Miami was nice. It really wasn't too cold. It was fine. It wasn't too cold at all. It was nice, very nice. It was a little rainy when we first got there, but other than that, it was nice to me.
That Heat game, I'm trying to remember, they hosted Chicago, is that right?
Yes, and they won at the buzzer.
Okay, so you had a chance to watch Jimmy Butler, DeMar DeRozan, go at it. When it comes to women's basketball, men's basketball, NBA, WNBA, whatever the case may be, who do you enjoy watching the most?
Who do I enjoy watching the most? Man, I think the people that I like watching the most are Shea, Gillis Alexander, and probably I want to say his name is De'Aaron Fox. Definitely.
De'Aaron Fox with the Kings, yeah.
2 point guards. I feel like Shea's game is very smooth, and De'Aaron Fox, he's straight to the point, but he gets it done. I really enjoy watching both of those players play.
Yeah, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for the Thunder is like a dark horse MVP candidate right now with the way OKC is playing. 2 great choices there, by the way. So let me ask you this. For somebody who's been playing the game now for 15 years, is there anybody that you try to model your game after?
I don't. I just go out there and try to be me. I put a lot of hours in the gym, and I think my game is very unique to me. And I just feel like I go out there and I just try to showcase my talents, as well as getting my teammates involved.
I mentioned right off the top that you transferred in from Oregon State, where you had a tremendous career, all-conference player, leading scorer in the conference as well. And, Morgan State's located, in the greater Baltimore area where you're from. So when you first decided to, go somewhere to play college basketball, you're staying home. So I have to imagine the decision then to leave home and play somewhere else was not an easy one for you. So what went into that decision, and why was it Texas State?
What went into that decision? What went into the decision was, with me being home for 4 years, I knew that I wanted to leave and branch out. When it came to Texas State, I liked everything that Texas State had to offer, not only from the basketball side, but from an academic perspective. With me being an information systems major, coming out of my undergrad in college, it was something that I was looking into for my graduate program, and I feel like Texas State gave me the best option for that. And once I was done with graduate school, or even done with basketball, I would have options in the field as far as job opportunities, whether that's in Austin or other areas that are around Texas State. But when it came to basketball, it was really a no-brainer. Being able to talk to the players and being able to enjoy my time with the coaches and seeing the things that they could do for me, the players that they had before me, I knew that this was the place for me.
What have you gotten to know about your head coach, Zinner, Antoine, and her staff?
What have I gotten to know about them? I love my coaching staff. I will say that I think that everybody plays an intricate role in what they bring to Texas State. I love how serious Coach Z can be, but she also has a playful side to her, as well as all my other coaches. All my other coaches are dope. They're very serious. They want to win, and they treat us great. I feel like that's something that we all want as student athletes. You know, we want to feel loved and appreciated, and I feel like that's something that they give us, and I couldn't be more thankful for that.
So, as you look at the second half of the season, what would you say the goals are for this team?
Finding some consistency with winning, definitely. Everybody just being able to pick up whatever their role is, whatever they talk to our coaches about, being able to amplify that so that we can continue our winning and hopefully ending with a championship.
I want to go back for a second to home for you, Baltimore. Not an area that I'm all that familiar with outside of watching pro sports teams from there, the Orioles, the Ravens, and stuff like that. I've only been through it once before. For you, what does home, what does Baltimore mean to you?
What does Baltimore mean to me? Baltimore to me is a very unique place, and I feel like a lot of people should definitely get to experience Baltimore. I feel like Baltimore breeds some of the greatest athletes and some of the greatest people, just let alone because of what it is. It provides and it instills a lot of heart in us, a lot of will and a lot of want and determination. I feel like with me growing up in Baltimore, I wouldn't have wanted to have it any other way because I'm not sure how I would have turned out. But with me growing up in Baltimore, it has allowed for me to see that I'm able to look at my dreams and go get them. And I feel like I'm doing that every day. So I appreciate what Baltimore has done for me, for sure.
Did you ever go to any Wizards games? And we talk point guards here. John Wall, did you ever enjoy watching him play at the height of his career?
I didn't. I never got to go to a Wizards game. I did go to a Mystics game before I left Morgan, though. It was a good experience. It was good to see. I could definitely see myself out there on that court.
Yeah. So, again, your time at Morgan State, one of the things that was unique was you had a chance to kind of see firsthand what Texas State's program was about because you played against them. There was, I think your freshman year, they went to Baltimore. And then last year you came to St. Marcus and played a non-conference game here. So did those experiences leave a lasting impression on you about, when you're making the decision to transfer? Like, hey, you know what? I know a little bit about this Texas State program. So did those games, did that factor at all for you when you're making your decision?
They didn't, but the ironic thing about it is I knew I was leaving Morgan after my senior year. So when I had came to Texas State, and the craziest part was we were practicing at the practice gym. We didn't even get to the regular gym yet. And I was just looking, I was like, wow, this is big. Like, I could see myself here. It was almost like I manifested it. But when it came to the games, no, I really wasn't paying too much attention to it. The only thing I was really paying attention to was my scout. But I always knew that Texas State had good players, for sure.
Well, the Bobcat family is certainly glad you made the decision. You're playing really well this year, Janiyah. Again, lead of this team in scoring. You've had some big moments this year. Looking forward to even bigger ones as the second half of the season approaches. And again, as we record the podcast, big homestand this week. Best of luck to you and your teammates on these upcoming games.
Thank you.
One last one for you, Janiyah. the Ravens, how far are they going this year?
We're going all the way. Flock Nation. We go to the Super Bowl and we winning. That's my only expectation.
There you go. So Janiyah Henson calling it. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens are going to take Lombardi back home to Baltimore this year. Well, great getting a chance to know a little bit more about Janiyah. First-year transfer, a grad transfer from Oregon State. Now at Texas State, the point guard for this program, and doing some really good things this season. That's going to wrap up the States Up podcast for Janiyah Henson. I'm Brent Freeman, as always, reminding you to keep your States Up, and we'll see you next time.